So first and foremost, welcome to my channel. This will be my first video. I have actually been trying to make this video for the longest, but for some reason or another, either because of time or contemplating, was it the right content? Was it the right picture that I wanted to paint about myself out there? Did I want to put my personal business out there? But to be honest, I've always been the type of person that I really don't care what anyone has to say. I do what I want. And I believe people should love you and accept you with the baggage you come and with the decisions you want to make. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be the only one that has to deal with those consequences. I mean, of course, criticism is accepted, advice is accepted, but sometimes you just gotta fall on your own to realize if that was really what you wanted and if you really made the right decision. No matter how many times people will tell you, "Oh, I did that, don't do it, this, that, and the others." You're not gonna learn till you go through it. So with that being said, Happy New Year. So today I'm gonna talk about my liposuction experience, my recovery time, the process before, which a lot of people don't think there's a process before, but there actually is a whole process before, where I went, my doctor, etc. So I hope you guys like it. So I got my liposuction a year and a half ago. It was June 2018. And as young as I was, it was a long time coming. Like, it was something that I always wanted, something that I always looked forward to, but obviously something that my parents wouldn't have let me done earlier on. So with that being said, I've never really been heavy or like extremely overweight, but I've always had, a little belly, a little here or there. I was never really insecure about it either. Like, I wanted it gone. I did work out a few years prior to having surgery. Like, I took the gym seriously, I was eating healthy, etc. Not that I didn't lose weight, I just didn't look the way that I wanted to look or the way I knew that I could look. So I don't know, to me, plastic surgery was never really foreign. I wanted to do it way before it became a trend. To me, it was something cosmetic, but also something very serious, which I think a lot of people don't take don't take it as serious as they should, because at the end of the day, it is a surgery. Anytime that you're exposing yourself to any type of surgery, something could happen. You could lose your life. So that's something to take into consideration before making a decision to do any type of surgery on your body. So also, when I actually decided to get surgery, it was really off guard. Even though I really wanted it for a while, I had really never planned it. Like, it was just something I would be like, oh yeah, in the future, blah blah blah. But I remember February 2018, I don't know, like, I just started gaining weight and out of nowhere. I'm not pretty sure if it was my birth control, because at the time I had changed from a different birth control. I was trying new brands, etc. I was trying to find something that worked for me. And I just gained weight, like, out of nowhere. Like, I remember I looked at myself in the mirror one day and I was like, when did I get this heavy? And it's funny because a lot of people who know me would have never noticed, because I've always said there's nothing wrong with, having a little chicho, as we call it, or having a little belly, but you need to know how to dress your body. So even though I didn't like the way I look, or I wanted to lose weight, I felt really heavy, I knew how to dress myself. I knew how to hide it. I knew what type of clothes to buy. So most people wouldn't have noticed. Even after I had surgery, most people didn't notice. They would just be like, oh, you look like you lost some weight, but nobody would know. It wasn't something dramatic, to be honest. But I was just like, I got into the point, at the time, I had also dyed my hair like platinum blonde, and it went wrong, so I had to dye my hair black, cut it all off to here. I never liked short hair. And also, when you have a round face like I do, when you cut your hair, you tend to look chunkier. So I felt even worse. Like, I couldn't put my hair into a ponytail. My clothes didn't fit me right. I had to do like 1,005 things to find something that made me look the way I wanted to look. It was just not a good thing for me. So I remember April 2018, I went on vacation for spring break, and I remember buying bikinis, etc. Regular 19-year-old girl, want to have fun, want to show off her body. And I remember I put on a bikini, and my friends, because as blunt as I am, I get the same thing back, and they know that they could say it, and I'm not gonna get, I'm not gonna feel some type of way, because I'm all about honesty. Like, sometimes the truth hurts, but I'd rather you be honest. And my friend was like, "Are you really gonna wear that?" And I said, "Why?" And she said, "No, you're really chunky, and that's not for you right now." As cruel as that sounds, I was okay with hearing that, because I'd rather her tell me that than let me go out there and look like a fool, or have people look at me a certain way, or whatever the case is. Listen, if you're comfortable in your own body and you're chunkier and you want to wear a bikini, that's totally fine. But my friends know that I'm not that type of person. Like, if something doesn't look good on me, just tell me. So there I started realizing, like, oh my God, I really need to lose weight. I went back to my mom's hometown, and my cousins, my aunts, like, they wouldn't say anything, but when they saw me, you could see it in their face, like, oh, she gained some weight. And then I remember one day, I love wearing pajamas, as you could tell. So one day I had people over. Well, my parents had people over, and I go out to the kitchen, and I'm wearing a pajama. I never forget, I was wearing a white t-shirt. And, I kind of felt it, but I was wearing pajamas, I was home, and I went outside, and one of my parents' friends was like, "Ashley, you gained some weight. Like, what's going on?" Like, they were actually concerned, because I had never seen myself with that much weight. So they were like, "Oh, are you okay? Are you stressed over school? Is there something going on? Is there something in your relationship, etc.?" And I was like, "No, I just, just enjoy myself eating, I guess." But I've always ate a lot. So it was like, why all of a sudden I'm gaining this weight? Like, is it because puberty hit, or whatever the case is? I'm like, what's going on? So honestly, when I came back from that trip in April, that's when I was like, okay, I had to do something, and I had to do it now. It has to be drastic. I can't take looking like this anymore. It's not me. It's not what I'm used to, whatever the case is. And that's when I decided, like, okay, I'm gonna get surgery. So besides the fact that I always known I wanted surgery, I always known that I wanted to go to the Dominican Republic to get surgery. I know there's 1,005 different stories. I also know a lot of women have lost their life out there getting surgery. But I decided that I was gonna do it there, and I was gonna do it the right way, because the thing is, as off guard as it was, as an unplanned as it was, I did my research. Like, those 2 months prior to my surgery, well, it took me a month to choose my doctor, and that's only because I already had family members who had gone and gotten surgery. I already had, I knew people. I had friends abroad where their fathers were plastic surgeons. So, I already, like I said before, I already had a bit of a background on what plastic surgery was, on choosing the right doctor, etc. So first, I took recommendations from the close people near me, the people that I knew. At first, as I wasn't ashamed that I was going to get surgery, but I didn't want to broadcast it till later on. So, I asked around a few people here and there about their doctors. I looked them up. I went in their pages. I saw their work before and afters. So at first, I chose a doctor. I'm not going to say his name, because I didn't have a good experience with him, and I'm just not about ruining your reputation out there. But I chose a doctor who actually worked in CIPLA, which is a clinic that has a very bad reputation in the Dominican Republic. I believe last June, a report came out where like about 20 something women have died there alone from one doctor, and not counting other women that had died from another doctor. But at the time, I didn't know that that was his place of work, and neither did I know, the background of the clinic. And besides the fact, he did surgery in 2 different towns. So he did surgeries in Santo Domingo, and he did surgery in San Francisco de Macorís, which is where I'm from, which is where I wanted to get surgery, because sorry, as bad as as much as I recommend to, when you're going to a country where you don't know anybody, where you don't know anything, to go to the actual capital, because that's going to be the most technologically advanced place that you could go. And if anything goes wrong, that's where you could receive better healthcare, to say it that way. Since I'm already from there, I wanted to go to my hometown because I felt like there I was, even though I have family in the capital, there was where I was gonna feel comfortable, where I was gonna heal at home, where I knew my way around, and where I just wanted to heal in peace. Like, I didn't want to be stressed about where I'm staying. I didn't want to bother anybody either. Like, I just wanted to stay home. So I really wanted a doctor that did surgery in my hometown. So, that narrowed a couple of choices down. So when I first spoke to him, I told him that, and he said okay, and we agreed on a clinic, which I had researched that no one has died in, no type of bacteria, no bad reputation. The clinic had a great reputation. I knew of it. It was very, it was a good clinic. So I was like, okay, fine, cool. So I sent him a $300 deposit, with the agreement to pay the rest before my surgery, after I actually get there. And when I do so, it's fine. I asked 1,000,005 questions about what type of anesthesia am I receiving, because a lot of things people don't, something people don't know is that a lot of these women that die even before they get touched. Like, they die due to the anesthesia, because there's only so much anesthesia that your body could take. So with me, when it's a good doctor, when you're like, I want this done, I want that done, and he's like, no, I can only do this much, or I can only remove this much fat. Because after a certain amount of fat, or after, you asking for all these other procedures, they're going to need to insert more anesthesia into your body. And some doctors do this just to get your money and to charge you. It doesn't matter how much anesthesia I have to put to get what she asked me. But a professional doctor, an ethical doctor, is gonna tell you, no, this is what I could do, because I could only put this much anesthesia in you, and after this much, that's it. You know what I mean? I can't. Then I'm gonna risk your life. But a lot of other doctors that are not ethical, that are not professional, they don't care about those things. They don't care how long they have to put you to sleep for them to get their check. So I was really big on not being put to sleep, because I knew that a lot of women died because of anesthesia. A lot of women actually even have an allergic reaction to anesthesia, which I submitted myself to, my doctor did, submitted myself into, basically it's a test where they determine whether how your body would react to anesthesia, and whether you're allergic to it or not. I knew I wasn't, because I had stitches before and I had anesthesia. So, they'll go a lot based on, if you had anesthesia before, how did you react to it, or how did your body react to it. So with that being said, everything is going well. I said this is my doctor. I gave them my deposit. My date is locked down, etc. However, he didn't tell me, because like I said, you have to prep your body before surgery, and he wasn't telling me any of these things. He wasn't telling me to keep my hemoglobin up. He wasn't telling me to make sure I wasn't anemic, to make sure I was on vitamin, nothing. Like, it was just like, okay, thank you for your money, and I see you on this day, and that's that. And so I asked, 1,000,005 questions. I wasn't getting the vibe from him, but 3 weeks before my surgery, he's like, I've had a change of mind, and I'm actually gonna have to do your surgery in this other clinic. So I'm like, okay. So I look up the clinic. I asked my family members who live abroad about the clinic. Turns out the place was literally a shit show. It was a shithole. The place was so unsanitary that if you would go there to even give birth, you would have to take your own blankets, because they didn't provide you with that. And finding that out, I was really upset, and I was like, hey, you're not gonna do my surgery there, because I'm not gonna risk my life because of you. Because a lot of people don't know that some doctors choose to have their surgeries in these clinics, because these are doctors that rent out the DORs. So they get charged less, because the clinic is a shit show, and they get more profit out of your money. And I was like, no, you're not gonna do that with me. I'm not gonna risk my life that way. And so he's like, well, if it's not there, then we'll have to go to the capital, to Cipla. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I don't want to do surgery in the capital, but I'll let you know. Let me think about it. So that's when I went on, I went online and I researched it. Because, by the way, guys, there's something called Sodacret in the Dominican Republic where doctors are listed, and out of 500 doctors, or even like out of all of the doctors that are in the Dominican Republic, only 500 of them are actually certified by that board to operate. So this is why it's important to do your research. This is why it's important to find out if your doctor is part of that. This is why this is why you have to do your research, basically, because not everybody who calls himself a doctor has the license to do the things that you want to do, and it's important for you to find out these things. So with that being said, I proceeded to look him up because I didn't like what he was telling me, and come to find out, he was actually a certified OBGYN, a non-plastic surgeon. He was doing surgery and he was doing it well, but he didn't even have a license to do so. So once I proceeded to research the clinic, I found out that in 2011, the clinic was actually closed due to a bacteria in one of the ORs that they could never kill. So they reopened the clinic, and that bacteria was never able to be killed. So fast forward to 2019, where the clinic actually got closed due to, all the death going on there. So, I text him and I'm like, listen, I'm not going to have surgery there. There's a bacteria in one of the ORs, and I don't know which one you're going to put me in that day. I don't know which OR has the bacteria, but I'm not exposing my life to it. He's like, well, that's the only option. I said, well, you know what? You could stay with the deposit because my life isn't worth $300. So you could keep it and that's it. But now, I have a flight bought. I have, I'm excited about the surgery that I'm about to have, and I don't have a doctor. So I go into panic mode and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Blah, blah, blah. I start asking around again, but I didn't want to make a decision, in a rush to choose somebody, and then something, God forbid, happen to me over there. So I reach out to a friend of mine that's actually a doctor, and I'm like, hey, do you have any colleagues who actually, have a good reputation, who work well, etc. Because my thing too was, I want a good doctor, and I want things done right, but I don't want to look the same, because what's the point of exposing your body to surgery if you're gonna look the same? I wanted to show a difference. So that was one of my big things too. A lot of women don't. A lot of women just want that little pouch gone or whatever the case is. I didn't. I didn't want to look exaggerated, but I wanted to look different. I wanted to be able to be like, okay, this was worth it. So my friend recommends a doctor, which a really close family member of mine also had done surgery with. The doctor had 20-something years of experience. He was actually the president of the first clinic where I wanted to get surgery at. He has a really good reputation. He never had any death, very responsible, so I reached out to him and I sent him, my invoice, etc. I let him know. I tell him, unfortunately I have my flight and for this date I was supposed to have surgery with this person, but this happened. And he was actually very understanding, and he was like, you know what, I'm booked for the week. I'm gonna do your surgery on a Saturday. Besides the fact, as soon as I spoke to him, I felt that it was a whole different vibe, because he was like, he had the follow-up questions, you know what I mean? Like, he told me, like, you need to make sure that you don't drink a week prior to your surgery. You need to make sure that you're here at least 3 days before your surgery, because if you get here anytime before 3 days, I would not be doing surgery on you. Your body could have a reaction because of the flight time. I need to do this test. You need to do this test administrated. You can't go in the hair dryer prior to your surgery, in what we call a secadora. So he was like, you could blow dry your hair, you just can't go inside a hair dryer. And I was like, okay. You know, so now I was feeling more secure. I was getting a good feeling about this doctor. So I sent him my deposit. So prepping for surgery, I started drinking folic acid, vitamin C, and I believe vitamin D. And I did that for 2 months prior to my surgery to you know, get my hemoglobin up and to make sure that I wasn't anemic, because you do lose a lot of blood when you have a liposuction, when you get a liposuction. So it was important that, you know, your body produces as much blood as possible so that you don't lose that much blood. So also I was dieting because I didn't get to lose much before surgery, to be honest. I lost about 10 pounds, but something is something. If you could lose some weight before surgery, I knew that I didn't need that much fat removed, so that's why I didn't put so much emphasis into losing so much weight. But if you're gonna get surgery, I recommend that you lose as much weight as you think or as possible, because the more weight you lose before, the better your results will be. And you know, even the safer it is, because now they're removing less fat, so you're not exposing your body that much. So with that being said, I actually started drinking a month before instead of a week before. And you know, I started living the lifestyle that I knew that I would have to live after surgery. You know, I knew that I would have to eat healthy. I knew that I would have to take care of myself, because yes, you do lose weight, but if you start eating the way that you were eating before, or if you don't take care of yourself, that weight comes right back. There's nothing, you know, stopping that weight from coming back except your mouth. So I began doing those things, and so the day of my surgery came. I was never nervous about surgery. Like, I was excited, I really wanted it, till I got to the clinic the day of, and the type of anesthesia that they used on me was, I got an epidural, and I got they gave you like a little pill for you to be, you know, not out of it, but you're kind of drowsy. So you're aware of what's going on, you're awake the whole time, but your body's asleep from here down. So just for you not to be, you know, super aware of it, you're kind of out of it, but you're awake, and they're talking to you the whole surgery. You know, they're making sure that you're okay. They'll make conversations like, oh, so what do you do? What are you studying, etc. So the day of surgery, they had already administered the IV on me. I already had a pill, and I was in a wheelchair on my way to the OR, and that's when I started freaking out, and I was like, oh my God. It's like, am I really gonna do this? Like, I still have time to back up. Am I really gonna go through this, etc. I was already nervous because I had never gotten IV, and I was already freaking out about having an IV on. I'm a crybaby, so I was already complaining about it bothering my hands, etc. So I proceed to doing that, and I'm like, okay, you know, you got this. I relax. My anesthesiologist came over and talked to me, and he was like, hey, if you don't think it's right, we could cancel this right now, but I can't administer any type of anesthesia on you if you're nervous. Like, you're gonna have to relax, you know, don't think about it, you're in good hands. He told me his experiences, he told me his name. So, by the way, my doctor was Aniceto Rodriguez. I would totally recommend him. He is super responsible, you know. Also, something that I really, really, really didn't want, which I let him know the first time we met, I was like, listen, I've always had an ass, to say it that way. Like, you know, I've always been thick. I've always had big thighs, etc. And I was like, I do not want any type of fat transfer to my area. So I was like, I don't want any fat transferred. I already have, you know, a big butt, to say the least. So I'm like, when you get a liposuction, or when you lose, you know, or a tummy tuck or anything like that, your butt already looks bigger. So if you transfer fat plus it already looking bigger, you know, I told them, I was like, I don't want to look like Donald Duck. I just don't. I don't like anything exaggerated. I don't want to look exaggerated. I want to look as natural as possible. And he was like, okay, I got you, etc. So, he wasn't, I remember also I wanted to clean the in between my thighs, because since I do have such big thighs in the summer, they would rub off on each other. Well, they still do. And it would like get irritated, or it would just bother me a lot. And he was like, well, listen, I'm not gonna do it because your thighs are big, you have big legs, and besides, if I do it, they're gonna look funny, they're gonna look wavy, and your body's gonna look disproportionate, because this is the way that this is your body set, so if I do that, you're not gonna look nice. He's like, I could do it and charge you 500 extra, but I don't care about the money, I just care about my client's results, and as your doctor, I'm telling you that's not gonna look well. And I was like, okay, fine. So back to the surgery. So after I got the anesthesia administered, and I guess they pumped up my toes, and that's it. Like I remember my surgery, it's in bits, pieces of it, like the actual OR experience. I was awake and I remember them talking to me, but I can't remember everything piece by piece. So I remember though, when I got out of the OR, like I fell into a deep sleep and I just wanted to sleep. And my family members that were in New York were actually worried because they wanted to speak to me, but I would just wanted to sleep. And I was like, I'll talk to them later, etc. And I remember I spoke to like my mom, my boyfriend, very briefly on the phone. Like, I'm like, yeah, I'm okay, I'm fine, but I'm sleepy. And I remember I woke up like 2 hours after, and I still had the anesthesia, and the anesthesia hadn't wore off yet. So when I woke up, I remember I told my best friend, and I'm like, this doesn't hurt like people say it hurts, because a lot of people were like, that really hurts, etc. And she's like, okay, wait till your anesthesia wears off. And so when it did, and it started wearing off about 9 p.m. I had surgery at 9 a.m. So my anesthesia wore off about like 9 p.m. So when it started wearing off, I'm like, oh, and also my surgery took about 2 to 3 hours, like 2 hours and a half. And when it started wearing off, I'm like, oops, like, it kind of starts hurting. I remember my lower back was what bothered me the most. Like, it just, I don't know. That was like where it would bother me the most, where like it would hurt the most. It was kind of even like, it would kind of even burn. I don't know, it's because that's around there is where the anesthesia actually got administered, because as I said before, I got an epidural, which is they'll put in your back, but that's where it started bothering me the most. So that night, actually, I wasn't uncomfortable like that. When you have a liposuction, you're supposed to sleep straight on your back. So that was a little bit uncomfortable, like, because I sleep on my side and like I curl up, but I wasn't able to do that because my body was like kind of stiff and I had to just lay on my back. But I remember I took my airplane pillow and I would like just put it like this so that my head at least is tilted, but my body had to be straight. So the next day, it was time to put my girdle on, and I remember I was already scared because I knew that was coming. Like, your body is bruised everywhere, like everywhere where they took fat out of, it's bruised. So I'm like, oh my god, I'm bruised, I'm in pain, because that's when it started hurting. And I'm like, and they're gonna come and put this really small girdle on me. And yeah, it wasn't a pretty picture. Like, I was complaining and I was like, wait, can we take a break because it hurts, because blah blah blah, So one thing is, the 85% of your results are how long you wear your girdle for. Your girdle is what makes your shape. Of course, the doctor does a job in shaping you, but your girdle is what does your shape. So I wore my girdle for almost 7 months, so for like 6.5 months. I wanted to do longer, but the thing is, my waist got really small, but my thighs were still really big. So I was already in extra small girdle, so right here it would fit me fine. But when it came to my thighs, it would be really tight and it would bother me when I was like at work or when I would try, to do everyday things. So that's when I stopped wearing it. But then I just started like waist training a little bit. I wouldn't do it every day, but you know, I would do it here and there. But now, even like if I'm going to a wedding, if I'm going to an event where I know like I want to look a certain way, or I want my dress to fit me a certain way, I would wear my girdle for about a week to get my body into the shape. And kid you not, after wearing, I could wear my girdle for a whole week and my body will look the same it did as the day I came out of surgery. So I went home the day after. I remember I was, besides the fact that I am a crybaby and I have no pain tolerance, I was in a lot of pain. Like, it felt like when you, honestly, the feeling is when you work out and I don't know, like it's like being sore from working out times 10. Like, I felt like a truck ran over me, to be honest, and I was just like, oh my god, why did I get myself into that? Like, at that point I was just like, great. Also, when you come out of surgery, you're swollen, so you don't see your results right away. So I remember seeing myself and I was like, oh my god, like I look the same, etc. I'll actually show you guys a picture in a little bit about, like, it's funny because I knew I was swollen, like my body was swollen, but I didn't realize my face was swollen until later on when I actually saw a picture and I was like, oh my god, like I was really swollen everywhere. And also I remember that before I left the clinic, they took some of my blood to make sure that my hemoglobin was where it needed to be, because if not, then I wasn't able to be released. And with doing that, they sat me down at, like, in a kind of sofa chair that was there, and I remember I felt so much better sitting down than laying down. So also, before I got surgery, I had to get, my doctor asked for blood work to test 105 different things, including my hemoglobin. I had to get an x-ray to make sure that my lungs were okay. I had to get a cardiogram, I believe it's called, to make sure that my heart was okay. I lasted like 2 days literally just doing, you know, different getting lab results, etc. And I remember him telling me, like, your surgery is not for sure till I get your lab results, because I'm not gonna do surgery on you not knowing if you're okay for surgery. He's like, you could look okay, you could be young, but that doesn't mean that that's the case. So with that being said, I remember the first few days of surgery, I was in a lot of pain. I would walk funny and I would be like, oh my god, why did I do this? Or like, I remember I used to joke with my friends and I'm like, oh, you know, how many days after this do you die? Like, I can't take it anymore, blah blah blah. And my friends were like, oh, you know, it's gonna wear off, relax, etc. And I was on meds for 12 days, which was supposed to be my recovery time. So again, when but I didn't think that I was gonna be healed in those 12 days, because I'm like, I feel horrible and that's not gonna be the case. But push comes to shove, literally after like 4 or 5 days, I started feeling way better. You know, like after I started getting like my massages and everything, I started feeling way better. But another thing, honestly, having the girdle is not that bad at all. Most people say that they can't, you know, well, in my experience, most people say that they can't put the girdle on for, you know, they can't take it for too long or it bothers them, etc. I just think it bothers when it comes to sleeping, because like I said, you're sitting up straight and you can't turn to your side to like 15 days after surgery, I believe. So I was really uncomfortable because of that, like because of my sleep. But the first few days I wasn't even hungry. Like, I wouldn't even get hungry. I remember my aunt would like beg me to eat, and like she would like shove, you know, food down my mouth. Like but of course, you know, my doctor gave me a list of the things that I could eat, that I couldn't eat, and he gave me also like a diet plan that I could follow the first few days. So that's what I was eating, but most of the time I wouldn't get hungry. So that, with that being said, with your girdle, you feel protected. Like, that's the way I felt. Like, I felt like when I didn't have my girdle on, like, I feel like loose. But like, since you're tight, like, I feel like, okay, like if I felt better wearing my girdle the first few days. But when it came to getting my lymphatic massages, that was hell. Like, that hurt so much. I remember, like, I used to have to take breaks. I used to be like, wait, I can't take it. I never actually proceeded to cry, but they really, really hurt. Like, that to me is the worst part of surgery. Like, that's what hurt the most. But also a good tip is if you are gonna go get surgery and you're like, because I didn't get massages like the day after like a lot of people would. I got it a few days later. But when you get a liposuction, your abdomen gets kind of hard, so drinking like green tea or any type of tea that that would clear your system helps the pain that you would endure during the massage, because it would make your skin a little softer, instead of like, if that makes sense, instead of like hard, and they would have to like, well, that to me was the worst experience. But honestly, my doctor told me that I wouldn't see my actual results till 6 months after. And I was like, really? Because I felt great. Like after the 12 days, I was back to normal. I had really minor pain, here and there, like if you would grab me in a certain way, things like that. But I wasn't in pain at all. Like, I was fine. I was doing my everyday things. I was cooking, I was cleaning. He also told me that before 2 weeks I couldn't cook because I couldn't expose myself to that heat. So I wasn't cooking as well. My feet did get swollen, but it was because I wasn't walking, like I was laying down all day. So if you do go get surgery, I know you're in pain, but at least try, to walk, to take a walk here and there, just to keep yourself in movement, because you will swell up even more. So I was, after 12 days, I was fine. I felt fine. I didn't feel 100% because you're still getting used to this new body, this new feeling, and it hurts here and there. I didn't have any actual scars from like the surgery, because when you're gonna get a liposuction, they'll make 2 little holes. My little holes are right at the beginning of my private area. So like at this point I can't even see them. Like they've worn off, because it's like literally 1 stitch. Like that's how small it is, 1 stitch. And that's where they'll put what they use to take your fat out. And in my back they made 1 on top, so like up here, which that one I could still see, but like I said, it's 1 stitch, is nothing major, which I loved that it wasn't like up here, because I've seen some women have it up here and one here and one here. Mine were together and they were like way lower, so like even lower than where the point that they would do a C-section. So I loved that part. So yeah, proceeding to the massage, that was my most difficult part. But also a lot of people think that, oh, she looks good because she, like talking about other people, she looks good because she got surgery, or it's easy for her because she got a liposuction, or she got a tummy tuck, or she went to see a plastic surgeon. Let me tell you that the hard part about the liposuction isn't even the recovery time, isn't even prepping yourself prior to that. The hard part is maintaining yourself, is changing your habits, changing the life that you were living, the life where you would eat whatever the hell you wanted to eat, just literally having a whole different lifestyle. And that's the hard part, because there's a lot of women that go and they look great the first few months, and then when they start eating the way that they were eating before, and they forget about eating a certain way, they will gain that weight back 10 times worse, because now your body is kind of shaped a certain way, but then you have all this weight, so you look kind of like a sumo wrestler. So I don't think the hard part is the actual surgery, because as much as it hurts, as uncomfortable as you feel the first few days, you get over that. The hard part is actually reminding yourself, like, I went through this, so I need to stick to this plan. It's kind of having a strong will, because of course sometimes you do want to eat everything you see. Sometimes you're like, I really want that cheesecake, I really want that burger. But if you start doing those things and you forget about where you come from, you will go right back. So honestly, it's easier in the way that you lose most of your weight right away, but the hard part is actually maintaining yourself, is actually having to have a certain lifestyle, because if not, then you're not gonna have an upkeep. I lost about 30 pounds, so I lost 15 pounds immediately after surgery, and then I lost the other 15 within the few months after surgery, so before 6 months. So it took me about 4 months to lose the other 15, which was, you know, the swelling, the whatever, all of that other stuff. So with that being said, also, don't shame anyone for the decision that they chose to have a healthier lifestyle, for the decision that they chose to make themselves feel better. Also, don't do this for anybody. Like, not because somebody's telling you to do it, not because somebody's suggesting for you to do it, not for your partner, not for anyone. I did it for myself because I wanted it, because I wanted to feel better. Like, till this day, I still don't wear, I don't really like wearing bikinis. I don't like wearing my stomach out. I prefer looser clothes and tighter clothes. You know, here and there, you know, you want to look a little sexy and you do it. But I didn't do it to show off. I didn't do it to, you know, I didn't care for people to know. I didn't care if they did know, but I didn't care about people noticing that I did it. And one of the things that I like the most is that my doctor gave me the confidence of me walking out there, and I know nobody could tell. Like, nobody is ever like, oh yeah, she got surgery. When I tell people, they're actually shocked. Like, really, where? Like, you look like you were always like this or whatever. And I'm like, no, you know, I did get surgery, and you know, I don't mind talking about it. But don't shame another person for the decisions that they made. Do it for yourself. And another thing, if she looks good and that's the way she got it, you know, praise to you, girl. Great. You know, everybody has, like I said, things work differently for everybody. Maybe plastic surgery isn't the way for you to lose weight, but for others, for somebody else, that's what they choose. And also, when you lose weight on your own, sometimes you do lose those acids of your body that you like the most. Sometimes your shape is not the way that you want it to, because sometimes you're building muscle. You know what I'm saying? Unless, you know, you could waist train, etc. But to me, it wouldn't be the same thing. I do not regret it at all. It's been a year and a half since my surgery, and I've gained about 6 pounds, which literally has been during Christmas, because I've eaten like crazy these past few days. But ever, like, in a year and a half, I've gained 6 pounds. I haven't gone to the gym. I do eat way healthier than what I used to eat. I do take care of myself in that way and choosing my eating habits better, but I haven't gone to the gym. I went to the gym one day after my surgery, and I haven't gone back. Of course, I do want to get back to the gym, and now starting this week, I'm gonna get back to my eating habits as well. But like I said, like, don't judge anybody for the decision that they made to lose weight. If you are gonna go get surgery, do your research. That's all I can say. Do your research. Make sure that it's somebody that you could trust. Don't go by the money. If you honestly don't have a budget where you could be like, listen, I don't care how much it costs, this is how much I want, don't do it right now. Wait till you have, you know, I paid $3,200 for my surgery, but you know, I wasn't looking for something cheap. I was looking for something well done. It happened to be that it was cheap, but I had liposuction. I didn't need that much work. Other people might need other things, and it might be a little more expensive. But don't go out there or anywhere looking for pricing, because a lot of times that's a mistake that we as women make. We want to go to the cheaper route, and we end up doing it with somebody who is not supposed to be doing this thing. So please, please, please do your research. That's my biggest advice. Start changing your habits from now. Even if you don't see the results you want to see, trust me, it's going to help you on later on. Make sure that you get somebody who's going to be there every step of the way. Like, I remember me texting my doctor every time that I wasn't sure about something, every time I was, you know, a little worried about something. Till this day, I still text him sometimes, and I'm like, hey, this, that, and the other, you know. So research. Ask other ladies for advice. Don't be afraid to, you know, I understand there's certain girls that don't want people to know if they're gonna get surgery or they want to get surgery. Don't be ashamed of that. Like, if that's what works for you and that's what you really want for yourself, then do it. To me, that's what I wanted, so I didn't care. A lot of people told me, you're too young to do this, you could do it on your own, you haven't had kids. I don't have plans to have kids now. I didn't have plans to have kids then. So to me, it was like, why am I gonna wait 10, 15 years till I have kids, to have surgery, when I can't even enjoy myself the way I would enjoy myself now. Like, this is my prime time to do this, you know? I don't shame anybody who does it later on, but to me, it was just like, why wait till, you know, I'm a certain age where that's not even the vibe anymore, you know what I mean? Where I want to be focused on raising my kids and on other things, you know. Right now is when I want it, and I'm gonna do it. And I don't think, honestly, I don't think there's an age for that, because that has to do, like I said, with your needs, your wants, and with your self-esteem. Like, it's, to me, it was a self-esteem booster. I've always loved myself, I always loved my body, but I love myself even more now. I love the way I look, and I wouldn't regret it. So I hope you guys really liked this video. I hope it was helpful. If you're thinking of doing one, feel free, you know, I would answer any other questions, any other follow-up questions you guys have. If you're not sure about it, you're not sure about your doctor, don't do it. Make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into, and you know what you could handle. But yeah, so I hope you guys liked this video, and I would be uploading more content soon.